Everyone blamed me until the truth became impossible to hide. And let me tell you something. When that truth finally came out, it changed everything. I'm Wade, 34 years old, heavy equipment operator for Midwest Construction. Thought I had a solid marriage with my wife Tessa after 6 years together. Sure, things had gotten routine. Long days running excavators and bulldozers, coming home tired, maybe grabbing takeout and watching TV. I figured that was normal for working folks like us. You know how it is when you've been together that long. Turns out I was dead wrong about a lot of things, but not in the way anyone expected. It was a Thursday evening in October when everything changed. I'd just finished a 12-hour shift moving earth at a commercial site in downtown Cleveland. My back ached, my boots were caked with mud, and all I wanted was a beer and maybe some leftover pizza. I walked through our front door expecting the usual routine. Tessa scrolling through her phone while some reality show played in the background. Instead, I opened the door to what looked like some kind of safety meeting gone wrong. Here's the thing about construction work. When you see chairs arranged in a semicircle with one empty seat in the middle, you know somebody's about to get fired or written up. The furniture had been completely rearranged into this weird configuration, with one empty chair positioned right in the center, perfectly placed, like I was supposed to sit there and confess to workplace violations I didn't know I'd committed. Standing behind that chair was Tessa, arms crossed, wearing this forced smile that immediately put me on edge. I'd been married to her for almost 6 years, and I knew that expression. It was the one she used when she'd planned something she thought was clever, but was probably going to backfire spectacularly. You've seen that look before, right? That fake confidence that's really just barely controlled panic. Sitting in the other chairs were her 4 closest friends from her healthcare job: Chloe, Jade, Quinn, and Ivy. I'd always privately called them the disaster squad, because not one of them had managed to keep a relationship longer than a few months. These were women who posted inspirational quotes about self-love approximately 48 hours after getting dumped, then immediately started giving each other the worst possible advice while enabling each other's terrible decisions. You know the type, always ready to diagnose everyone else's problems while their own lives are complete train wrecks. Tessa straightened up and cleared her throat like she was about to give a shift briefing. She announced in this shaky but practiced voice that they were holding an intervention about my behavior and how I'd been treating her throughout our marriage. I literally laughed out loud because I genuinely thought she was joking at first. Like maybe this was some weird prank or elaborate setup for social media content, but nope. Looking at all their serious faces, I realized she was completely serious about this absurd setup. And that's when I knew I was in trouble. Not the kind I thought, but the kind I hadn't seen coming. Chloe jumped in immediately, talking about how I was emotionally unavailable and never prioritized Tessa's needs. Here's what's funny about that. Chloe worked retail management at Macy's and had been through 3 different boyfriends just in the time I'd known her. Jade chimed in about how I'd stopped being romantic and never planned surprises anymore. Like I was supposed to be constantly courting my own wife after working 60-hour weeks. This from a dental hygienist who'd been between jobs for 6 months. Quinn went with the classic distant husband routine, saying I'd become withdrawn and given up on the marriage entirely. Quinn did part-time bookkeeping for small businesses and lived with her parents at 32. Then Ivy delivered what she probably thought was a devastating blow, saying she honestly didn't understand why Tessa had stayed with me this long, given how terrible I supposedly was. Ivy cut hair at a strip mall salon, and her last relationship ended when she found her boyfriend on 3 different dating apps. Let me tell you, sitting there listening to relationship advice from these 4 was like getting construction safety tips from people who'd never set foot on a job site. I stood there for a moment, just taking it all in. The sheer audacity of this whole setup was almost impressive in its delusion. I sat down in that empty chair they'd positioned for me and folded my arms, then told them to continue. I figured I'd let them get it all out and see where this ridiculous performance was heading. After all, I was curious to see how far they'd take this intervention nonsense. Chloe rolled her eyes dramatically and said my dismissive attitude was exactly the problem they were trying to address. So I pointed out that she'd been cheated on by a guy who then immediately started dating her roommate, and maybe she wasn't the best source for relationship advice given her track record. You want to know what happens when you hit people with facts they can't argue with? They get angry, real angry. Jade tried to say I was deflecting from the real issues, which was rich coming from someone whose ex-boyfriend had blocked her entire family on social media after she kept showing up at his workplace causing scenes. When Ivy accused me of being mean and dismissive toward Tessa, I calmly reminded her that her last date had ghosted her completely after she asked him to cover her rent on the second meetup. I wasn't being cruel, I was just stating facts. Every time I responded to one of their accusations with actual documented evidence about their own relationship failures, they got more visibly upset and flustered. Tessa kept trying to regain control of the situation, shushing me and saying I was missing the point. But I could see she was secretly loving the attention, feeding off them attacking me on her behalf. Here's what I realized sitting in that chair. This wasn't really about me at all. This was theater, and I was just the prop they needed to make their performance work. This ridiculous circus went on for well over an hour, just recycled pop psychology from social media, accusations without any real substance or specific examples, and a whole lot of projection from women who clearly had their own unresolved issues. They kept piling on, taking turns criticizing everything about me, while Tessa sat there nodding along like this was all very deep and meaningful, instead of the trash fire it actually was. You know what's funny about group interventions? They only work when the person being targeted actually cares what the group thinks. And after listening to an hour of relationship advice from women whose combined successful relationship experience totaled maybe 18 months, I'd stopped caring what they thought about anything. Finally, I'd heard enough. I stood up slowly, grabbed my work jacket from where I'd dropped it, and thanked them all for the clarity and insight they'd provided. Tessa blinked in confusion and asked what I meant by that statement. I told her very calmly that I'd work on addressing all these issues they had raised in my next relationship. The room went completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. The collective sound of 4 jaws hitting the floor was almost comical. Chloe's mouth literally fell open, and Tessa's fake confidence just evaporated right in front of everyone. Here's the thing about calling someone's bluff. Sometimes they realize they weren't actually ready for you to fold. I walked to the bedroom, threw some clothes, my laptop, and toiletries into my gear bag. When I walked back through the living room, they were all whispering frantically to each other, probably trying to figure out if I was serious or bluffing. Tessa followed me to the door, trying to get me to stay and talk this through. She grabbed my arm, and her voice was shaking as she asked me to wait. I turned around, looked her in the eye, and said no. I told her she wanted clarity, and now she had it crystal clear. Then I walked out the door. And let me tell you something about walking away. Sometimes it's the most powerful thing you can do. I drove to a Hampton Inn in Parma and checked in for a few nights. My phone started blowing up immediately with calls and texts from Tessa and her friends. But I ignored all of it. For the first time in months, maybe years, I actually felt genuine relief instead of that constant low-level tension that had become normal. But I wasn't just sitting around feeling sorry for myself. See, here's what people don't understand about construction work. It teaches you to approach problems systematically. You don't just start swinging a hammer and hope for the best. You assess the situation, gather your tools, make a plan, then execute it properly. And right now, I had a problem that needed solving. I opened my laptop and started systematically digging into our finances and phone records. What I found over the next few hours was pretty damning, and that's when I realized this intervention wasn't just bad judgment. It was covering up something much worse. Our joint checking account showed expensive lunches and hotel charges on weekdays when Tessa had claimed she was working late or attending mandatory training sessions. I'm talking about charges at places like Applebee's and TGI Fridays, plus multiple overnight stays at Holiday Inn Express downtown. We're talking $120 to $140 per charge, multiple times over the past 3 months. Now, you might think that doesn't sound like much money, but when you're living on a construction worker's salary and your wife works healthcare administration, those numbers start adding up real fast, especially when they're happening during times she claimed to be at work, functions that supposedly provided meals and accommodations. I cross-referenced the dates against my own memory and work schedule. These charges always happened on days when Tessa had texted me, saying she'd be home late from work, or was at mandatory healthcare training seminars. Funny how those training sessions apparently required hotel rooms and romantic dinners for 2 at chain restaurants known more for their happy hour specials than their educational value. Then I checked our phone records through our carrier's website, and that's when the real smoking gun appeared. There was one number that appeared constantly in her call and text logs. Daily communication, sometimes multiple times per day, always during work hours when I was running equipment and couldn't monitor my phone. I counted 153 calls and texts to this same number over the past 3 months alone. Let me put that in perspective for you. 153 contacts in 3 months works out to about 1.7 calls or texts per day, every single day. That's more communication than most people have with their own spouse. And I'd never heard of this number before. I didn't recognize it, but a simple reverse phone lookup gave me everything I needed. The number belonged to Lance Coleman, age 33, living in Cleveland Heights. The name rang a bell immediately, like hearing a song you haven't thought about in years, but somehow still remember every word to. I remembered Tessa mentioning Lance from their trade school days years ago when we first started dating. Her ex-boyfriend who she described as her first real connection. The one who really understood her before he broke her heart when they graduated. Yeah, that guy. The one she claimed she was completely over and hadn't thought about in years. Right. The one she supposedly never talked to anymore because they'd grown apart and wanted different things. Apparently what they'd wanted was to reconnect behind my back while I was busting my ass on construction sites 12 hours a day. I typed his name into social media and found his profile easily enough. Profile picture of him at some construction site, trying way too hard to look rugged and professional. But what really caught my attention were the mutual friends that popped up. Guess who appeared in that list? Chloe, Jade, Quinn, and Ivy. Of course they did. They'd all gone to trade school together, which meant they all knew Lance too. The whole thing clicked into place immediately, like when you finally see the blueprint that makes sense of a complicated building project. I could see exactly how it happened. Tessa complaining to her friends about how our marriage had gotten stale, how I didn't make her feel special anymore, all the usual midlife relationship stuff that happens when people stop putting in effort. Her friends nodding along like self-proclaimed therapists, then probably saying something like, "Hey, you know Lance is single again after his divorce. Maybe you should reach out, catch up, see how he's doing. He always really got you in a way other guys didn't." You know how it is with friend groups. They always think they're helping, but really they're just stirring the pot because their own lives are boring and they need drama to feel alive. I scrolled through Tessa's social media with this new perspective, and I could see the trail clear as day. Old posts from years ago that Lance had suddenly started liking in the past few months. A few heart emojis left on her photos, then newer comments that were slightly flirty. Things like, "still as beautiful as ever," and "so proud of what you've accomplished." It was almost laughable how obvious it was once you knew what to look for. The guy hadn't changed since trade school, still using the same smooth moves that probably worked back then, when everyone was young and stupid enough to think Instagram flirting was romantic instead of pathetic. I spent the rest of that night and most of the next morning documenting absolutely everything I could find. Screenshots of every suspicious charge, printouts of phone records with the relevant numbers highlighted, notes about dates and patterns. I wasn't acting on pure emotion or impulse. I was methodically building a case like I was preparing equipment maintenance reports for a safety inspection. Here's what 20 years of construction work teaches you. Documentation is everything. You can't just tell the safety inspector that you think something's wrong. You need dates, times, photographs, maintenance logs, everything in order and backed up. Same principle applies when your wife is screwing around behind your back. By 2 a.m., I had everything organized in a detailed spreadsheet with color-coded categories. Over $800 spent in 3 months on hotels, dinners, and what she'd claimed were work expenses, all following the same timeline from August through November. I created separate tabs for the phone. Logs showing that same number appearing again and again, always during my work hours when I was operating heavy machinery and couldn't check my phone. I even made a timeline showing how the spending increased right around the time Lance started appearing more frequently in her social media activity. The correlation was so obvious that even a first-year trade school student could have spotted the pattern. I made 3 complete copies of everything and backed them up in different places. One on a flash drive, one in a secure cloud folder, and one on my phone. I'd seen enough workplace investigations to know that documentation has a way of disappearing when people get desperate, and I wasn't about to lose this evidence to some convenient computer crash or one of Tessa's emotional meltdowns later. The more I pieced together, sitting there in that anonymous hotel room with the rain pattering against the windows, the clearer the whole picture became. That intervention wasn't some spontaneous idea Tessa's friends had come up with to help our marriage. It was carefully scripted and planned, designed to serve a specific purpose that had nothing to do with fixing anything. Let me tell you how this really worked. Make me look cold, distant, emotionally unavailable, and controlling in front of witnesses, so she could cheat guilt-free while telling herself she deserved better. Make her friends absolutely believe she was the victim of a terrible marriage. So, when the truth eventually came out about her affair, they'd defend her and take her side automatically. Create a narrative where I was the villain before I even knew there was a story being told. It was manipulative and calculated, and it almost worked. But Tessa had made one critical mistake in her planning. She'd underestimated how calm and methodical I could be when I was truly done caring about saving something that was already dead. By 4 a.m., exhausted but satisfied with my work, I started searching online for divorce attorneys in the Cleveland area. I read through dozens of websites and reviews until I found exactly what I was looking for. Nora Andrews, family law specialist, offices in downtown Cleveland, 5-star reviews across the board with clients using words like unshakable, strategic, brilliant, and calm under pressure. Exactly my kind of professional. Someone who approached problems the same way I approached equipment failures, systematically, thoroughly, and with a clear plan for resolution. I filled out her online contact form, uploaded several of the most damning files as attachments, and scheduled a consultation request for Monday morning. Then, I finally shut my laptop, laid back on the hotel bed, and exhaled deeply for what felt like the first time in months. The rain outside hadn't stopped since I'd arrived, steady and rhythmic against the windows, like the kind of background noise that helps you think clearly. For the first time in a long time, longer than I wanted to admit, I didn't feel like I was the problem in my own life. I felt like I was finally becoming the solution instead. You know that feeling when you finally stop trying to fix something that's been broken for months and just accept that it needs to be replaced entirely? That's exactly where I was, and honestly, it felt good. Really good. Monday morning, I walked into Nora Andrews' office like a man clocking in for work rather than someone going through emotional turmoil. When I gave my name at reception, Nora came out personally to greet me. Professional handshake, sharp, intelligent eyes, all business. We sat down in her conference room, and I slid a thick folder across her desk without preamble. Bank statements, call logs, screenshots, photos, timelines, everything organized with tabs and highlighted sections. She opened the folder and started scanning through with quiet precision. You could tell she'd probably seen hundreds of divorce cases over her career, but this level of organization clearly caught her attention. After about 15 minutes of careful review, she looked up at me with something like approval in her expression. She said I was more organized and prepared than probably 90% of her clients combined, and most of them had weeks to prepare rather than one weekend in a hotel room. I shrugged and said, getting publicly accused of ruining someone's life gives you plenty of motivation to make detailed charts and documentation. She actually smirked at that and said she liked my style because she didn't do drama or emotions. She did clean strategic wins based on evidence and facts. Already I knew I'd made the right choice. Let me tell you something about finding the right professional. It's like finding the right tool for a job. You want someone who approaches problems the same way you do, systematically, and without getting caught up in all the emotional nonsense that clouds judgment. Nora laid out her recommended plan of action, standard no-fault divorce since Ohio allowed that. But she'd lead with misuse of marital funds and character damage to strengthen our position in the settlement negotiations. That intervention scene I'd described, she called it a goldmine of evidence, showing Tessa had attempted to damage my character and reputation in front of multiple witnesses while simultaneously spending joint marital money on an affair. She was very clear about the rules moving forward. I needed to avoid any emotional communication from that point on. No texting Tessa, no calling her, no responding to her friends, no matter what they said, and definitely no engaging on social media. I stayed quiet. She would do all the talking through proper legal channels. That was fine by me. I told her honestly that I had nothing left to say to that group of geniuses anyway, and she seemed satisfied with my attitude. Nora said her plan was to serve Tessa the divorce papers in a semi-public, Location. She suggested Murphy's Diner, a place near Tessa's workplace right around lunchtime, public enough that Tessa couldn't cause a huge scene, but private enough that we wouldn't seem vindictive or cruel. The goal was clarity and clean boundaries, not revenge. I nodded and told Nora that sounded perfect to me. I wanted this done right, professionally, like any other business transaction. By Wednesday of that week, Nora had all the paperwork prepared and ready for my signature. I went to her office, signed everything, and left feeling oddly light and unburdened. I honestly thought that would be the end of the immediate drama, file the papers, wait out the legal process, move on with my life. But of course, Tessa's friends couldn't mind their own business or stay out of things that didn't concern them. That same night, my phone notifications started exploding with social media drama that would have been funny if it wasn't so pathetic. Chloe had posted one of those vague but pointed quotes. When a man can't handle a strong woman speaking her truth, he calls her crazy and runs away. Jade reposted it within minutes. Ivy added her own story post with another quote about never apologizing for outgrowing someone who couldn't rise to your level. Quinn liked both posts and commented, "Preach sister," with a bunch of emoji. Then the direct messages started flooding in from numbers I didn't recognize. "You're disgusting for abandoning her when she needed you most. Hope you're happy destroying a woman's confidence and self-worth. Men like you should be publicly exposed for the emotional abusers you really are." On and on, all variations of the same theme, all trying to make me feel guilty or respond emotionally. I screenshot every single message and post without responding to any of them, then sent the whole collection straight to Nora via email. Her reply came back about 2 minutes later. "Perfect. Keep them coming if they send more. This helps our case tremendously. Turns out harassment and coordination could be documented as easily as financial infidelity. But the disaster squad apparently wasn't satisfied with just online drama and social media nonsense. They wanted real-life confrontation too, because that's how emotionally mature adults handle things, right? Friday evening, I was at my new apartment, a small one-bedroom I'd rented temporarily, just trying to watch a movie and decompress from the week. Someone started banging on my door hard enough that I thought they might be trying to break it down. I opened the door cautiously to find some tall guy standing there, maybe early 30s, muscular build, shaved head, wearing that particular gym rat expression that absolutely screams insecurity and overcompensation. He asked in an aggressive tone if I was Wade. I leaned against the doorframe and said that depended on whether he was selling something or trying to get embarrassed tonight in public. Here's the thing about guys like this. They're usually all show and no substance, and they definitely don't expect you to be calm when they're trying to intimidate you. He scowled and puffed up his chest, said Chloe had sent him over, claimed I'd been harassing her online and sending threatening messages, which was complete fiction since I hadn't contacted any of them at all. I almost laughed in his face at the absurdity. Then I decided to do the guy a favor and tell him the truth before he did something stupid that we'd both regret. I told him very calmly that Chloe had forgotten to mention she was cheating on him with her coworker at the sports bar every Thursday evening, while he thought she was at her standing book club meeting. That stopped him cold. His jaw clenched and his aggressive posture faltered completely. He insisted I was lying, trying to manipulate him. So, I suggested he check Chloe's location history on her phone if they shared that. Or, better yet, look at her Instagram and tell me why she was consistently tagged in posts near Rookie's bar every week while she was supposedly discussing romance novels with middle-aged women. He pulled out his phone right there in my doorway and started scrolling fast through her social media and location data. I watched his expression slowly fall as the reality of what he was seeing sank in. His whole face changed from angry to hurt to resigned in about 30 seconds. He looked back up at me with completely different energy and said, "Yeah, okay, I see it now." I told him I was sorry he'd been lied to, but Chloe had sent him to my door thinking I'd take a swing first so she could play the victim again and distract from her own behavior. I suggested he deserved better than someone who'd weaponize him like that. He nodded slowly, muttered something like, "Damn, I'm sorry, man. I didn't know the situation," then turned and walked away quietly. The whole interaction took maybe 5 minutes, but I could tell it had completely shifted his perspective on everything. 5 minutes after he left, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. Chloe screaming through the phone so loud, I had to hold it away from my ear. She was absolutely furious, yelling about how I had no right to tell him about her personal business. How dare I ruin everything she'd built with him? I leaned back in my chair, completely calm, and told her she was welcome. Maybe next time she'd think twice before sending someone to threaten me, and she'd keep my name out of her bad ideas. Then I hung up while she was mid-sentence. Let me tell you something about people who try to use intimidation. They never expect their own dirty laundry to be aired in public. They think they can control the narrative, but the truth has a way of coming out, whether they want it to or not. By that weekend, the group chat those 4 shared must have been absolutely melting down, because all of them unfollowed and blocked me on every social media platform. Best news I'd had in weeks. Honestly, the trash was taking itself out without me having to do anything. Monday morning, Nora called me around 10. Her tone was brisk and professional as always. She asked if I was ready for phase 2 of our plan. I told her I was born ready. Let's do this. She explained that the divorce papers would be served to Tessa that afternoon. A professional process server would approach her at Murphy's Diner just before her usual lunch hour. Subtle but effective. Public but not cruel. I actually chuckled and said, "So, no cheering section this time." And Nora replied exactly, "That's the point. We're being professional while she's being dramatic." That afternoon, I stopped by Nora's office to sign one final form that had been prepared. While I was there, she reviewed the complete final packet with me one more time. My evidence, her legal documents, the financial timeline, character witness statements from co-workers who'd noticed changes in my behavior and work performance during the affair months. The whole thing looked absolutely bulletproof. Before I left her office, Nora told me I was handling this entire process better than most of her clients did. She'd seen people completely fall apart emotionally during divorces, especially when infidelity was involved. I told her I'd figured out pretty early that yelling and crying wouldn't help my case. Silence and documentation hurt much more effectively. She smiled slightly and said, "I wasn't wrong about that. That night, I actually cooked myself a proper dinner for the first time in days, opened my laptop while eating, and saw one more text from Tessa sitting unopened since Friday. I could see it in the notification preview without opening it. The message said something like, 'We can still fix this if you just talk to me. Please don't throw away everything we built together.' I deleted it without opening it or responding. That felt better than any reply I could have sent. Saturday afternoon, I drove back to the house to collect the rest of my belongings and important documents. The place looked exactly the same from outside. Same flower pot by the door, same doormat, same porch light. But walking up those familiar steps felt completely different than it had for years. This wasn't home anymore. It was just a building full of lies, broken promises, and receipts. Before I could even use my key, the front door swung open. Tessa stood there looking like she'd been crying for hours, eyes red and swollen. Mascara smudged down her cheeks, holding a crumpled tissue like it was a prop in a performance. The conversation that followed was exactly what you'd expect. Tears, accusations, blame shifting, promises to change, threats to take me for everything I was worth. I stayed calm, collected my things, and made it clear that all future communication would go through Nora. You know what the most satisfying part was? When she finally realized that her intervention strategy had completely backfired. Instead of making me fight for the relationship, it had given me the clarity to walk away with dignity. 6 months later, I got a promotion to site supervisor. Turns out, handling personal crisis with the same methodical approach I use for equipment. Maintenance impressed people at work. My boss told me he'd never seen someone stay so focused and professional during a divorce. The last I heard, Tessa was still single and posting inspirational quotes about finding herself. Lance had moved to Pittsburgh for work, apparently tired of the Cleveland construction gossip mill. And the disaster squad, well, let's just say their track record for giving relationship advice hadn't improved much. As for me, I learned something valuable about the difference between fighting for your marriage and fighting for your dignity. Sometimes the best way to win is to stop playing other people's games and start playing by your own rules. That intervention was supposed to make me beg for forgiveness and fight for a relationship that was already dead. Instead, all it did was show me exactly what I'd been avoiding, that I deserve better than someone who'd rather stage a public humiliation than have an honest conversation. If Tessa wanted a performance, she got one, just not the one she was expecting.